possible for the stretch drive with Vegas this season. What are you hearing with regards to his future, as this is a player that has logged a lot of hard miles over the course of his career?
Every year, Kyle, I hear, Pietrangelo is so badly beaten up and he's put his body through so much that he's not going to be able to play next season. And every year I get told that's wrong. And every year he's back and he plays hard and he plays great. And he's one of my favorite players to deal with in the league because he has great answers to questions. You'll remember that the NHL and the countries have an agreement that to name your Olympic teams, the full team is the end of December, but you have to name 6 players by the end of June. And the dates aren't set up yet, but it sounds like it could potentially be the week of the 16th, which is, a week and a half from now. And I put together a long list for all these teams, like who could be on it. And I had Pietrangelo on that list. And someone indicated to me that he might not be available. So I don't have any confirmation on that yet. And I still think it's one of those things where at this time of year, teams are trying to figure out what their rosters might look like for next year, and are there any injury concerns? So we'll see what happens with Pietrangelo. I hope he's healthy. I hope he's good enough to go, but it sounds like there's at least the possibility that they're trying to figure out what his health will be like for the start of next season.
Wow. Okay, that's a big one.
He's one of my favorite players, like I said, to deal with. He's so good talking about the game that I'm going to hate it when he's not around. I'll say that much.
Yes. Do we have any inkling?
Hopefully that's a long time away.
For sure. Do you have any inkling on what it is he's been dealing with?
No.
Okay.
I mean, you saw him in the playoffs. It looked like it could have been anything, like knee, hip, groin. I just don't know.
Okay. The Buffalo Sabres, Elliot, I mean, they've come up on this podcast a few times here as the offseason for them has been underway for a few months. Kevin Adams has added some names to his front office. There's been the Bowen Byrams of the world that have been out there. What else are you hearing about what's going on in Buffalo?
I just think when you go through the combine, I feel like I mention this every pod, but I gotta keep saying it. Like I ask around and I say who's active, and I get told the Buffalo's active. And there was the stuff about Dahlin during the season, and I think they know that they're key guys. They want to be competitive, and Buffalo's trying to make that happen. And Buffalo in the past has indicated that they will deal some of their prospects for more immediate help, and I think that's the case now. We've talked about Byram. The Peterka talk has been out there, although, again, Buffalo has indicated that's not something they're really crazy about doing. But I just get people who keep saying to me, you got to watch the Sabres, because they know that their core guys, they want to win. Not that anyone blames them. They know exactly how their core players feel.
Okay, other news on Friday. Derek Lalonde, now an assistant coach for the Toronto Maple Leafs. So I can only imagine, after all those hours logged in the Sportsnet green room during the early rounds of the playoffs, he went to Craig Berube and said, I have all the answers to your problems.
Thanks for the scoop, Derek. I was really hoping he'd come back on the panel and maybe he could replace Kevin.
Yes, that's right.
Happy for Derek.
Those dreams are dead.
Obviously, you guys can tell, everyone listening, how much we like him. So really happy that it worked out in a good place for him.
He was a great fit. Really, really interesting to listen to when he was on with you guys, and you can see why someone like Craig Berube and the Leafs would want to have his input there on a full-time basis. So congrats to Derek.
Were you surprised, Kyle, that Mike Andlauer and Steve Stais came out and said they told Batherson he wouldn't be dealt?
Feel like this is a biannual thing that they do.
It's like me asking if Pietrangelo was too hurt to play.
Yes, that's right. Happened at the trade deadline. There was the Brady Tkachuk stuff earlier in the year. I think, did you see the video of Andlauer doing the heel click, walking up to do media?
I have to say, more talented than I realized he was.
Has to be one of the more limber of the NHL owners.
That's true. I don't know how many owners or broadcasters could do that.
No.
Somebody said to me that one was all my fault because I talked about how other teams were looking at the Senators having so many right shots.
Yeah, right. Well, as Michael Andlauer kicked off his media there on Friday, you weren't the one that he was going after, so you can stand down on that one.
I saw that. Well, maybe I can change things next week.
That's right. That's Scott Oakline. How are you doing? I'm good, but there's still plenty of time to change that. Okay, that'll get us to the final thought, which is brought to you by GMC. So the beginning of this week, it feels like it was a month ago, we took some time to talk about where things were headed, particularly with some of the biggest names in the Canadian Hockey League making the jump to the NCAA. It was confirmed just the other day that Caden Lindstrom from Medicine Hat is in fact going to Michigan State, and a lot of eyes are turning towards his teammate Gavin McKenna, who will be draft eligible in 2026. Your thoughts on where McKenna's future could be headed?
I think the Western Hockey League hopes that McKenna will stay. I don't know that I would put the odds on that, but they are definitely hoping he will stay. I guess he's going to make a few visits. I was asking a few people around hockey what they thought, and informal straw poll, I would say, Kyle, Penn State. That's who they think the favorite is, but nothing is done until it's done. I was told it would be premature to make any enormous proclamation, but I asked a bunch of people around and said, if you had to pick where he's going to play next year, most of them picked Penn State.
Wow. Well, they had the eyes emoji post over the final weekend of the Memorial Cup tournament, right? That got everybody's attention.
Yes, it did.
So perhaps linked to that.
Maybe,
and I think that's part of the conversation now, certainly across the CHO. And you're like, well, how good is that team going to be next year? It's like, well, how many other top guys are going to be back? Then I'll have a good answer for you. But it's a lot of situations in limbo. And certainly maybe none bigger than the Tigers, with Lindstrom already committed. And where is Gavin McKenna going? The most likely first overall pick in 2026. All right, that was the final thought, brought to you by GMC. We'll take our first break and come back with a thought line. This is 32 Thoughts, the podcast, and it continues after this. Okay, welcome back, Elliot. Bravo for trying to get to the bottom of who was Connor McDavid passing to on the 3-3 goal on Friday. He didn't give you a clear answer, but all you could do was try.
I'm still taking it as he doesn't want to embarrass Bieksa, and Bieksa's wrong.
Oh, I think he would have no issues embarrassing him. But I'll keep you on that theory.
Anything that's bad for Bieksa, I'm good with as a theory.
That's good. All right.